Okay, greetings from Tromerville. We're here at the World Trade Center, and what's interesting is that there's a big stink here. Apparently something happened in 2001, 9/11, something like that, and these poor people want to build a mosque 2 blocks away, and there's a huge stink about it. Apparently they don't have the right to religious freedom. We don't have the freedom of religion anymore. And speaking of freedom, we are lacking in many freedoms of information also in this country. And that is why it is very hard for us to sell our own damn movies, because the pathways to information are controlled by these giant devil-worshipping international media conglomerates. Luckily, Jon Reiss is showing the way. He had a masterpiece called Bomb It, and he has really forged a new path. Now, Jon, in your writings, your wonderful article in Movie Maker, you talk about the PMD. Tell us, what do you mean by that? It sounds like a whole new area of profession.
So what the PMD is actually the producer of marketing and distribution. What it is a recognition that there used to be people that used to take films and connect them to audiences. Those are called distributors. There aren't so many anymore, and there are many more films that are created by filmmakers than can be handled by any kind of distribution apparatus. So it's a recognition that filmmakers need to now be responsible for distributing their films and connecting their films to an audience. And this person who is the PMD should start at the very beginning of production, so as to help build that audience, because it is a long time to connect with. It takes a long time to connect with an audience and to build an audience.
It sounds like you're thinking about the PMD being an actual position, like unit production manager or something. That on a crew, on your list, you'd actually have that person.
Oh yeah. No, it actually is a crew person, and I'm actually starting up a PMD Academy this fall. And the reason I gave it a title was because whenever you have work on a set, or whenever you have work on a film, it's not going to get done unless there's someone assigned to doing that. And the best way to have someone assigned to doing that work is to give it a title. And the idea is that in a couple years, actually tomorrow, you'd actually get resumes for that position.
With Bomb It, your first step was to enter some film festivals?
Yeah, essentially with Bomb It, we were initially following the old path of what I call the festival acquisition system, which is where you make a film, you take it to a major sales festival, you get a lot of excitement about the film because you hire a publicist, you actually spend money marketing your film at that festival, and with the hope that a distributor is going to buy it and give you a chunk of change and take it off your hands and release your movie, and then you go on living happily ever after making another film. That system doesn't exist for, I would say, 95 to 99.9% of filmmakers anymore. Having your film in a major film festival, even the top film festivals, is not a guarantee for distribution. And I would say, I think the last 2 years at Sundance and even Toronto, there have been maybe 4 films sold out of 150. When you think of 5,000 to 17,000 feature films made in North America alone, and say maybe 10 to 20 get bought by distributors, that's a heck of a lot of films not getting traditional distribution.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that an independent, perhaps first-time filmmaker makes once he or she or it has completed his or its project?
I think the biggest mistake is waiting until you've completed the project to start distribution and marketing, and especially audience development. So I would say to anyone starting a film now or conceptualizing a film that you need to start developing your audience from inception. And frankly, you should be developing a long-term audience. I would look at Corey Maccabee as an example. It's CoreyMaccabee.com, MCABEE.com, and he actually is someone who has moved to the new model where you create a brand for yourself as a filmmaker, and you connect your films as a filmmaker, and you create a lifelong audience for yourself as a filmmaker and develop an audience for yourself. So if you're starting off with your first film, start doing that from the first film at the very beginning, so that you're not at the end of the film going, oh, now how do I distribute this film? And then you have to spend that much more time than engaging your audience, etc.
Well, with Bomb It, how did you get the people interested? How did you, it's not Justin Bieber. How did you get people in cyberspace to get interested in your project?
The first thing you do is figure out who your audience is, and you have to be very specific about that. And so we knew our audience was graffiti writers and street artists, and we also knew that our audience were fans of graffiti artists and street artists. And we just started reaching out to them on MySpace. We had all the people that we interviewed and met connect with us on MySpace. We connected all of their email addresses. We also did something on our website where we gave people stickers. We actually mailed people stickers for their email address, because no one's going to give you their email address, just by saying, give me your email address. It's like you have to give them something in exchange. So we actually spent $500 on postage mailing stickers to everyone who requested a sticker. And we developed, we got 2,000 people on our email address because of that before we finished the film.
Recently at Comic-Con there was a Troma panel, and Adam Rifkin, who's a very successful director, mentioned that Lloyd Kaufman, had branded himself. I didn't really understand what he's talking about.
Yes.
But talk about how...
I got to talk to that guy.
Yeah, talk a bit about the branding.
Yeah, I think it's really important for filmmakers to think about branding themselves, and if it seems appropriate, and I always qualify what I say, because I think that not everything is for every filmmaker, but if it makes sense to you, I think it's smart to think about yourself as a brand and where you fit in the media landscape. And you certainly have a very strong brand, and you've done that naturally. And that's one of the things, like for instance, Corey Maccabee, when I interviewed him about this, he said, well, I didn't set out to be a brand. It just kind of seemed to make sense to unify all my projects. That's what seemed to make sense to unify all my projects. The key thing is, and we're getting very nitty-gritty, but your personal sites, you want to be your own voice, but your project sites can be multiple people. But you have to make sure that with your branding you keep it authentic, and that you don't have other people talking for you. And the other thing is, is to realize that people don't just want to hear about the film, they want to hear about more things than about your film and your filmmaking, and they want to know about you as a person. You are probably one of the only ones that has a direct relationship with your fan base. And what this process is talking about is developing yourself as a brand, and then to have a direct relationship with your fan base so that they can engage with you on all of your projects, and that you can even go to those filmmakers for support in making projects. Not just doing things that are called crowdfunding, but also crowdsourcing content.
Give me money, 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 give me sex, 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 give me drugs, drugs, drugs. Give me money, 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 give me sex, 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 give me drugs, drugs, drugs. Give me, give me, give me. Praise the almighty dollar, it's the only God that I trust. Up to my knees in porno.
There's a really interesting site called Reckamovie, which is about crowdsourcing.
How do you spell that?
WRECKAMOVIE. And so if you want to crowdsource your film, get other people involved in making your film. And then there's Indiegogo and Kickstarter, which are good crowdfunding sites. But all of these are basically audience development. It's not people replacing the funding of your film completely. It's not about people making your film for you. It's all about engaging your audience in different ways.
Any overarching theme that you'd like to impart? I think you've answered most of my questions.
The main things that I say is that, every film is different. The problem with the previous studio model is that they treated almost every film the same. So every film's different. It has a different audience. Filmmakers have different goals. And so what you need to do is to create a distribution marketing strategy that's unique for your film and that works for your film, and to start that as soon as possible.
Jon, just you know, my audience are fledgling filmmakers and artists. Where can they find you? And
Right. So you can find me through my blog, which is jonreiss.com/blog. You can find me through Twitter, which is @Jon_Reiss. You can find me through Facebook, and then you can find Bomb@, the movie, at bomb@themovie.com, bomb@-themovie.com, and then you can find the book at thinkoutsidetheboxoffice.com.
so whereas behind us they are building something that should be called the Hubris Towers, Jon, rather than compete with the big penis-waving 3D multi-billion-dollar Smurf movies by Titanic Boy, he has found a way to be true to his own soul and also stay on the ball to make a living out of it and get to a public and make real art. So it's very fitting that we are here at this location. Thank you, Jon Reiss.
Thank you, Lloyd. It's been an honor and a pleasure.